So today we're looking at using telltales to sail faster and sail higher into the wind. We'll look at true wind and apparent wind, what the differences are, how to find the direction of the wind and the wind flow around the sail, and then we'll look at telltales as to how to make it all work, and finally we look at using time trials to hone your skills and test them. And right at the end, we've got some tips and tricks on going upwind faster. So stick around for those. The three basic sail settings are: if we are heading towards the wind, then we want to pull our sail fully on, and the aim is to get our telltales flat and straight, horizontal in this scenario. If we are sailing with the wind coming across the boat, then we're on a reach and we need to set our sail about halfway out. It's a little bit further than that, there's about halfway out. Or if we are going downwind, then we need to let our sail fully out. So those are the three that we're looking at. The telltales, just a note, the telltales don't work when we're going straight downwind, so we just need to let it fully out. They start to work more properly when we come round onto a reach, and then we need to pull it on. A little rhyme here actually, just to remember: flappy sail is an unhappy sail, pull it in, and if in doubt, let it out. And between those two, we should be looking at a perfect telltale set. So let's have a look at the difference between true and apparent wind. And it's not that hard. We're not going to be doing mathematics or any fancy angles. So just true wind is what we're doing if we are just stationary. If we're standing on the land or we're not moving anywhere, then true wind is what we'll feel on our face and via various other things. Apparent wind, however, is if we start to move. So if we start taking off in our boat one way or another, then we'll be feeling apparent wind because we are moving forward. It's as simple as that. So how do we know what the true wind is? Well, it's things that aren't moving. So an example would be a flag flying on the shore. That's not moving. That's showing you true wind and the true wind direction. Moored boats, if there's no current or tide, they also show you true direction because they tend to point directly into the wind. And any flags that are flying on a moored boat, they also will tell you true wind. But that's okay for that. How do we work out apparent wind? Well, if we're on a real sailing boat, then we'd probably be feeling the wind on our face. But we also have these wind indicators on board our boat. Let's just have a look at those a little bit closer. And on our simulator, we've got 3 wind indicators. We've got 2 down at deck level and 1 up on the top of the mast. All show you apparent wind. That's showing the apparent wind direction as per what the boat is feeling. Our true wind direction, if we're looking at it in our sim, is coming from these small waves that are shown on the surface of the water. Those small waves happen in real life too, and this is an example of what they look like. By the way, those small waves are tiny. They're only about 2 or 3 millimeters high. They're no bigger than that. If you're looking at the bigger ones, then they're the wrong ones. We're looking at those little tiny semicircles that are only a few millimeters big. When we're sailing our boat, the sails are always looking at apparent wind because that's what's happening when we're moving. But we do need to be aware of true wind for the safety of the boat. Let's just have a look at that for a moment and see what the difference is. The sails, because we're moving, they're always feeling the wind because we're moving. So that's apparent wind. That's just how it works. But let's have a look at now our difference with our true wind and how it affects our apparent wind in different directions. Might be easiest to do this in a powerboat. So I've set up our boat here with some fake wind blowing at 20 knots, and you can see down at the bottom of the screen here our true wind is 20 knots and our apparent wind is basically 20 knots as well because we're not moving. And if we are moving in a slow manner across the wind, then it doesn't change an awful lot. It might change a little bit, but not an awful lot. Let's speed up and see what happens. Just say we speed up to 10 knots as a nice example, and we're looking at our speed over here, and then we face and go down with the wind. That's now reducing our speed, or reducing our apparent wind. So we'll notice now our apparent wind is down closer to 10 knots. Well, we're heading the wrong direction there. Our apparent wind is heading closer to 10 knots now. Our true wind, still 20 knots. What's going on? And that's how we'd be setting our sails. So apparent wind, 10 knots. Yeah, that's a beautiful day out. But watch what happens when we turn our boat and we now start going upwind. As we go across the wind, we're now our apparent wind is increasing. We're now back up to 20. And if we continue to turn and we're now going upwind, then still at our 10 knots, we're now looking at much closer to 30 knots. And that's why we need to be aware of what the true wind is doing, even though we are constantly setting our sails for apparent wind. So what's the effect of our speed on apparent wind? Well, it's easiest to see that in our powerboat here. So if the wind at the moment is coming across over the side, and if we speed up, then our apparent wind moves further forward. And that's that's exactly what happens. You can look at the mathematics of it, but think of it like if you're in a car and you're driving along at speed, then you feel the wind in your face. And it's exactly the same on a boat. And when we slow down, or if we go backwards, then the apparent wind will start to move backwards. If we're sailing a yacht in a twilight race, sometimes this is actually a little bit of a funny one that catches people out. So here I've got some fake wind in a large wind, and what happens when the gust finishes and it goes into quiet wind? Well, the apparent wind goes forward directly to where we're going from, and the sails flap until the boat slows down, and then it comes back onto our normal angle. Let's have a look at that again. So here we are sailing on our correct angle, and when the wind first comes in, we need to ease our sheets because the apparent wind comes back, and then when the gust finishes, we've suddenly got the apparent wind goes forward. Doesn't really matter where we steer on that one when the boat's slowing down, because it's all about the boat movement, not about the wind. So if you get that gusty scenario at the end of the gust, just hold your course. You don't need to try and bear away. In fact, it won't help you at all. So let's have a look at those telltales and what they actually mean in how it works. So the wind is actually flowing around the sail, and you can see here that the wind is equally on both sides. But if the wind is heading more on one side or the other, then what happens is that the flow doesn't work properly, and the wind actually peels off the sail if it's going down on the leeward side, on the sail away from the windward side, or the sail will luff, and the windward telltale will peel off if we're sailing too high into the wind. The target, of course, being here that we actually want the two telltales to be straight and horizontal. And there's two ways we can do this with that, keeping those telltales straight. Just say, for instance, that we are heading for a marker over in the distance. So we're steering towards something that's in the far side. What we need to do then is adjust our sails so that the two telltales behave themselves. In this situation here, our windward telltale, our green one here on this one, is flapping, which means that we need to pull the sail on a bit. Let's just try that. There it is, perfect. And if it's on too hard, then the one on the telltale on the far side, which is this our red one, which is on our port side, will start to flap, which means that we need to let it out a bit. Don't forget our little rhyme that flappy sail is an unhappy sail. We need to pull it in. If in doubt, let it out. So there we are with a flappy sail. Let's pull it in. We're not pulled it in quite enough because the sail is still luffing. You can see a bit of a curve in that sail there. So let's pull it in a little bit more. And as we pull it in, then the sail will get that lovely curve in the front, and the telltales will become flat and straight, which is just exactly how we want them. pull it in too far, and then the leeward telltale goes a bit strange. Don't forget that the wind is constantly changing, so we need to be constantly adjusting our sail. The other way to deal with telltales is to set them, firstly set them correctly, and to do that on this, where I'm just going to point up onto a close hauled course and then take it out of automatic mode, and then we steer to make the telltales straight. So as the wind changes, we need to either steer up towards the wind or we need to steer away from the wind, depending on which telltale is telling us which way to go. Again, our goal is to keep the telltales flat. If we're steering too close to the wind, then our windward telltale goes a bit silly, and on the simulator our graphic comes up, says we're going too high and into the no-go zone, and if we're going too far away from the wind, then our leeward telltale goes a bit strange and bananas over there, and you can actually see that. Let me just turn around so we can see it on the far side. There it is on the far side, going a bit bananas. So we need to change the course so that we can point up closer to the wind. There's 2 time trials which we can access via our time trials in here, and scroll down, that test those skills. So we've got Tell 1 and Tell 2, which is all about those 2 components of using those telltales. The first one is about just simply adjusting the sail to make them right so that we can change it and make it work. And the second one is steering an upwind course so that it's our best course to windward. Just a quick question here. What do we need to do here? Flappy sail is an unhappy sail. Yep, you're right. Pull it in. And if I pull it in, and if I pull it in too much, or I'm heading in the wrong direction, not sure what to do now. So if in doubt, let it out. Now, there's a little trick here when we're sailing upwind, and that is that we want to be just continuously just testing up into the wind and seeing what we're doing. So we're sailing along on a close hauled course, our sails are in, and we just gently edge up towards the wind. The windward telltale starts to flap, so we bear away just a tiny little bit back onto the perfect course. We test it again, and it's just starting to flap, so we bear away again. Just little movements, point up, bear away, point up, bear away, and we get the absolutely perfect optimum position of our course. If we go up too high and stay up there, then not only will the sails flap, but the boat will slow down, and then we'll lose control of it, because steering is all about actually the boat moving, and so we need to bear away back onto that course and get those 2 telltales nicely streaming along. If we do in fact have to ease our main sheet when we get a gust, for instance, we can ease it out and that's fine, but as we get boat under control again and the gust finishes, we need to pull it back in so that it's back onto that full position, so that we can again test up into the wind, and again we're now looking at our 2 telltales there perfectly flat and setting. So time trial number 8 is a good example of this, where we need to be doing the whole zigzag. So we're looking for a perfect course upwind, and then as we get closer to the shore, we're going to have to do a tack and go through that no-go zone. We can ignore those other boats that have got transparent sails. They're just ghost ships. We'll sail straight through those. But keep testing it, keep testing upwind to see where those telltales are misbehaving. There we go, there's the no-go zone, that's too high, need to bear away just a little bit, test again. It's just constantly, we're just looking for that edge. We're near the shore, so we're going to have to do another tack and continue on. It's just one example of honing those skills and going upwind at our best course going upwind. Sometimes it's easier if the sails aren't in automatic mode, so that if we bear away too much, then we can actually see it with the telltales. If we're in automatic mode, of course, the sails will just ease out and they'll still look perfect, but we're going on the wrong course. Coming up soon, we've got another session here with using your sail twist. That'll be your boom fang and or your sheeting that controls the twist in the sail, and that will give you even more height or not, as the case may be, going upwind, or speed if you're going downwind. So just don't forget to like and subscribe to see when that one comes out, and of course download the Two Sail sailing app so that you can test and hone your skills. Happy sailing, the competition is on, and if you're really keen, you can join us on the Patreon. We've got some conversations going on there with new time trials coming up on a regular basis, and how to deal with them, and some special videos for you too. From me, Kingsley at Two Sail, happy sailing.